In honor of former Browns center Hank Fraley. Welcome into episode number 66 of Cleveland Sports Realm. To my left, your right, as always, is my good co-host Jerome Pedikauskas. And then to my right, your left, second appearance on CSR is friend of the show and loyal listener Matthew Passerell. We will start with you, Pass. How are we doing this evening?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be back and check out the new studio and get to talk some Browns, Cavs trade deadline.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited to get into all that, and we love having you on because you're a big-time NBA fan, so we'll get a lot more insight into the NBA from you as well. And then just a little bit of housekeeping up front before I get to my co-host over here. We are recording Tuesday evening, so a lot of the trade speculation that's coming later in the show could be done. It could not be done by the time that this episode releases Thursday morning. So just wanted to get that out of the way. Jerome, over to you. How we doing, buddy?
Doing good. I'm glad to have you both here tonight, and shout out to Robbie, who did a nice job filling in and pinch hitting at the last minute last week, and we got to talk a lot about the Browns, so we will not probably go as in depth on that tonight. We're gonna heavily focus on the Cavs here because our guest is that's his
bread and butter.
Yes, his knowledge base is very
right
vast there. So. We are going to start with a little bit of Browns, though. And the reason why is because, again, we are recording this Tuesday the 3rd, and this is when the media got to meet Todd Monken today for the first time. He stepped in front of a microphone and a podium with the suit in the picture with the Browns helmet and all that jazz that we've seen so many times before. This is you guys' time to talk because I really haven't. I got to express my thoughts on Monken last week, and if anything, after thinking about it for a week, I think I like the hiring even more than I did last week, and I wasn't super down on it last week. So, Pass, go ahead, and then Kevin, the floor is you guys. Tell me what you think, and then we'll cover the press conference a little bit before we jump into the National Basketball Association.
For sure. Like you, I was a little taken aback by it last week. Just because everything seemed to be pointing towards Schiehlhaas or promoting Schwartz. Just none of what I really had heard too much leading up to the few days before he got fired or hired really indicated that he was actually like a leading contender for the job. So, but I've had a little bit to digest and kind of get to research him a little bit more, and I'm really excited. I think about what he's going to bring to the offense. I think Stefanski was kind of his time wore out here. I think the players kind of tuned him out a little bit. He practiced the self accountability with the players where he doesn't really police them that much. Whereas like Monken, on the other hand, is going to be really like in your face, holding you accountable, which I think the team like really needs. We've always been one of the more penalized teams in the NFL once we've had Stefanski as head coach here. So. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more discipline under Monken here. And, it seems to speak well to him that a lot of the assistants from the Ravens followed him and not Harbaugh over to the Giants.
Agreed.
So that seems to be a good sign. A lot of former players have come out in support of him, and they're excited for him getting his first crack at it. And, I know a lot of people are criticizing him for being 59 years old and in the league for 30, 40 years and not actually having a head coaching job yet. But, he was second to Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. Obviously he's got a lot of experience here, so it's not like he's just, some makeshift candidate that we hired just because of a lack of options, which might be a perception, seeming as, a lot of candidates kind of shied away from the Browns. But I think they really got their guy, and so I'm excited about that. And, especially like the fact that he's going to be keeping the defense the same even without Schwartz. It'll hurt a little bit to lose him, but he doesn't run anything like too complex, honestly. Like his blitz packages are a little less than thrilling in my opinion, and he just runs a lot of cover one with Ward and Miles out there. It's not that hard to replicate that. So I think we won't see too much of a drop off there, but hopefully he'll be able to mentor Shador and help take him to the next level. Like obviously he was a big fan of him with the Ravens, and when he was at Georgia too, he recruited him there. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting. Now I'll take you back a week. Now I will say I did want to give a big shout out to Robbie Becker too for filling in at the last second last week. I had dropped the ball. We probably would have recorded last Tuesday if I didn't drop the ball, which honestly probably worked out to the show's benefit because you guys were able to cover the head coaching hire. So it ended up working out, believe it or not. But shout out to Robbie Becker. Thank you again for filling in last week. Now my initial thought, I had received this update right before I went on my work trip last week about the Todd Monken hire, and I was pretty irate as soon as I read it, to be quite honest with you. Kind of what Pass was just saying, I was expecting Scheelhaus or Schwartz, so I kind of had my mindset on those two. I was leaning Scheelhaus, not just because of what everybody wants, the young offensive guy, but it was just one of those guys. I did just want to take a swing for the fences, and it seemed like Monken was kind of not a swing for the fences. It's a 60-year-old first-time head coach, so in a sense it is, because it is his first time being a head coach, at least at the NFL level. I believe he was a head coach in college. I forget what university.
Southern Miss, yeah. And he did lead a good turnaround there. He took over a program that was winless, and I think he got them to 9 wins before he bowed out of there and head to the Buccaneers.
So not quite as good as the Kurt Signetti turnaround, but it was a good turnaround, huh?
Sure,
for Southern Miss? Okay. Yes. So this seemed like, okay, we're just going to go with, a guy that's been there, done that, an offensive mind, which I think is probably what gave him the edge over Schwartz, quite honestly. And it seemed like this whole process the Browns had gone throughout and basically said, at least the reports were saying they wanted to keep Schwartz under basically any circumstance. The news about Monken drops. Then there's the whole domino effect of Jim Schwartz now doesn't want to be in Cleveland. He's telling everybody goodbyes. And at this point, I'm thinking, the Browns basically, went throughout this whole process. They prolonged the process longer than just about any other team did. And you're going to end up not being able to keep the guy that you were dead set on keeping. I thought it was just a total Browns blunder, quite honestly. I've grown more open to it, as you typically do when your team hires a coach. I have grown more open to the Todd Monken hire. From what I've seen of his press conference that happened today, again, as we record on February 3rd, Tuesday, I liked what I heard. It seems like, Jerome and Pass, we were talking about this before we started recording, but he does seem to be, the polar opposite of Stefanski. He'll tell you what's going on. I think if there are things that need to be or that need to stay behind closed doors, I think he's going to keep them behind closed doors, but I don't think he's going to give you basically, just basically alphabet soup with words, essentially, of just, okay, this is what it is, and then you don't actually have anything of substance to go off of. So I do like that about him, and I like that he's an offensive mind. So I'm growing more open to it, but it's still not. It wouldn't have been my first choice, even out of the 3 that were remaining.
Well, and here's the thing with the Monken, and I did this last week on the show, and I'm going to do it again. I got to give a lot of credit to Mary Kay Cabot of the Plain Dealer in Cleveland.com, because she seemed to be the one consistent person when everybody was saying, all the national media, the Schefters, Rappaports, the Jeremy Fowlers, all of those guys, the Tom Pelisaros, were all telling you it was down to Scheelhaus and Schwartz. And Mary Kay kept saying, my sources tell me, do not forget about Todd Monken. He's still very seriously in this. Do not forget. And she kept saying it. And you kind of thought, well, you're the only one saying it, though. Got to give her credit. She was right, because that's what we found out today when Jimmy said that, throughout the entire process, Monken stayed, as Jimmy said, he was one of the lead horses in the race the whole way from start to finish. And I also thought the other reason, there was 2 reasons why I thought Monken was still seriously in this. One, the Mary Kay reason I just explained. And then number 2, fellas, John Harbaugh wanted Monken to be his OC, and Monken would not sign the deal with the New York Football Giants, which tells you he was still seriously in this thing, and he must have really thought he had a shot. Yeah. And clearly he did, because today we watched him get introduced. Now, I did have a chance to watch the entire press conference today. We're not going to go through the whole thing. I'll go through some things that I thought were funny. The first time that Jim Schwartz's name got brought up, Monken said, quote, it was a bitch to face his defense. Yeah. And I think what we saw today from Monken was such a breath of fresh air for Browns fans, because whether you liked Kevin or didn't like Kevin, Kevin was robotic, and Kevin gave you the same 25 words the same crux of stuff, but rephrased it with 50,000 different words every time, and it all meant one thing: nothing.
Yep.
And Kevin's not going to change who he is. I watched a little bit of Kevin's intro press conference down in Atlanta. That's who he is. And so whether, we think Kevin was a good coach, he was, but whether that's true or not, the Browns set out in this search, and I think they said, how can we find someone who's the exact polar opposite of Kevin but still an offensive mind? And I think they found it. Because Kevin, and press conferences are only one thing, but you need someone who's got a little personality, someone like Passerell said, who's going to hold people accountable, and I think Todd will do that. Todd showed us more personality in one press conference today than we've gotten in 6 years from Kevin. Did he win the press conference? Of course he did, but most Browns coaches did. I thought one of the biggest wins ever for a press conference was Freddie Kitchens. How well did that turn out?
I thought Mike Pettin had a good one, too.
Yeah, he did. Chud did, too. He pulled on the heartstrings, I used to go out there in my Browns jersey and play in the snow. Like, they all win it. They all figure out a way to win it. Now, what happens after that, we'll see. I can make an argument the one who didn't win it would have been Kevin. His was boring as all hell, and he was probably the most successful coach since the franchise came back into existence. So did Monken win it today? Of course he did. Doesn't mean anything, but I could see where they wanted to go polar opposite of Kevin. And another thing that Jimmy pointed out, and I don't think it was necessarily a shot at Kevin, it was just the truth of the matter. Jimmy said, when I did my exit interview with 35 to 40 different players, the one big thing I kept hearing over and over again was I wanted accountability. The players want accountability. You as the players are going to get that from Todd Monken. And Todd Monken said it himself this today. Everybody wants honesty until the honesty is directed at them and then they don't like it. Okay, Browns players, you asked for accountability. So the first time that you screw up this year and he calls you a MFer and this and that and screaming at you on the sidelines and chewing you out on national television, are you still going to want that accountability? That remains to be seen. But, you asked the owner to get somebody who's going to hold you accountable. The owner did that for you. Now we'll see if you really like it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's going to be interesting to see, I think, not only that, Jerome, but it's going to be interesting to see, I think, how this quarterback dynamic is going to play out. Because I did think it was pretty funny, just the clip that I saw of when Shador had went in to the office and they had dapped up. And Todd basically was like, hey, we tried to get you in Baltimore. And Shador's like, yeah, I know. They dap up or whatever. Yeah. So going back to what Pass was saying, it seems like Todd Monken's been a Shador guy for a while now. If he was recruiting him when he was at Georgia and stuff, like he's been a fan of Shador Sanders for quite some time. So it seems like that's the direction the organization is heading. It seems like the head coach and the quarterback like each other, that they would be on the same page. And it seems like they're going to end up going into this year basically in full Shador mode.
Well, I think that remains to be seen because that was the very first question.
I know, but I think that's probably the way it's leaning. What do you think, Pass?
Yeah, I would imagine that's the case. I think, unfortunately, we can't totally dismiss Deshaun Watson.
I agree with that.
The albatross.
I think Mary Kay has been prepping us for it for over a year now.
She has
consistently been telling us that, he's like not out of the plans entirely. She's been tweeting updates about him, and I think she's been just putting the idea out there so you don't entirely erupt and lose your mind if he's out there week one. But I think that I would like to just start the year with Shador. We'll see. But I think giving him the first team reps throughout all of camp and just letting him get more accustomed to it and continuing to get him reps, I think it'll improve his decision making, his chemistry with the receivers and everything. And then, obviously hopefully add a little bit to the line and give him some talent at wide receiver. And hopefully he'll be looking better next year. I mean, he showed you flashes for sure this year.
Oh, absolutely.
Then he had a lot of bad moments too, like that prayer against the Steelers, lob that ball across the field as a jump ball, But so obviously you want him to clean up on things like that. But I think he showed you that he's got the ability to throw the ball down the field. He's got the ability to make reads. He's not just staring down one receiver and throwing to whoever he sees open. He's able to kind of scan the field a lot of the times, and he was able to step up more in the pocket, take less sacks. So you definitely saw improvement in areas where you would expect it and where you'd be hoping to see that as a rookie quarterback. And I think just year two, hopefully he'll build off of that. So I think I'd like to go with him, but I think we can't entirely dismiss Deshaun. So we'll see.
I'm just so sick of the albatross's hat continuing to be thrown in the ring here. It's such a sunk cost fallacy right now, and the Browns just haven't realized it, the same way the Broncos realized it with Russell Wilson, the same way the 49ers realized it with Trey Lance. Like, it hasn't worked out. Just move on, man. I'm sick of talking about this guy.
Well, they're not going to this year because they don't want to pay that money up front. So we know that he will be on the roster this year. Andrew Berry said that at the end of the year.
No, I know. It's
and I understand why, for cap reasons, why. Now, the good thing for the Browns is because the cap's supposedly, reportedly, not officially yet, but going to go up to, I believe, $300 to $301 million.
I saw that.
So they'll figure out a way to maneuver some things and bring in some new guys. Now, I would bet that Monken is going to go with Shedeur too. That's just my gut feeling. Now, today, I mean, that was the very first question. Like, you know, the second that he did his opening statement and opened up to questions, Mary Kay was on that like flies on potato salad at a picnic. She's like, is Shedeur going to be the starter? Like, and he didn't go there today, but also I didn't expect him to in his opening press conference. Like, so it's February 2nd. Let's say that Shedeur really sucks during like mini camp and OTAs and all that. Like, in Monken's position, you don't want to do that where you're like on February 3rd. Sorry, I said 2nd. On February 3rd, you're like, yeah, Shedeur's my number one starter. And then Shedeur has an awful camp, and then you're like, well, I already committed to it. Like, so that was a smart move.
Sure.
Smart move by him. Like, and maybe behind the scenes, Monken and his OCs and the people he's brought from Baltimore are having that conversation. Well, yeah, hell, we don't want to go to Deshaun Watson. Let's go to Shedeur Sanders. And I think there is a good chance of that, but he's not going to commit to that today. So, you know, he didn't really want to commit to too much today, which I can understand because you don't want stuff held against you. And we've had coaches commit to stuff way ahead of time before and it's burned them. So I was kind of glad that he didn't. I mean, I understand the media too doing it. It's their job to ask. It's their job to inquire. But I thought he did that well. Now, one other part of this press conference I wanted to touch on that I think was asked over and over again. It was asked to Jimmy Haslam. It was asked to Andrew Berry. It was asked to Monken, and none of them wanted to go there. The elephant in the room, will Jim Schwartz be the defensive coordinator? So a couple of things here. Let's start with Jim Schwartz. If he wants to be a defensive coordinator, from my understanding, has literally this option and the Raiders, because Mike LaFleur's already hired someone else in Arizona, I believe. Every other DC job's filled. Clint Kubiak can't actually take the Raiders game until after the Super Bowl on Sunday. So my thing is, Jim, it's either you want to come back here and be the DC, or you don't want to coach altogether, or you want to be the Raiders DC, because you're out of options. Like, that's it. So I'm curious to see if Jim Schwartz still does come back here. I'm like 50-50 on it. But I don't think if I was Jim Schwartz, I'd be running back after Monken's comments today, which I'm sure you guys saw. And basically what he said was, quote, when I was the Ravens offensive coordinator, 95 and 21 was who I was scared of. It wasn't Jim on the sidelines. He did say this after saying he respects the hell out of Jim Schwartz as a DC, though. So with all this being said, Jimmy didn't want to go there. Andrew didn't want to go there. Todd didn't want to go there. The three new faces of the Browns organization, well, one new face, two have been here. He didn't want to go there. So, opinion question for you guys here. Is Jim Schwartz going to be the defensive coordinator? How do you guys feel about it? Or does Monken look elsewhere? Like, nobody wanted to touch it today. And quite frankly, the reason I think none of them wanted to touch it is, well, they're not going to tell you even if they did know, but I don't think they know yet.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's probably 70-30 in favor of Schwartz not being here, just based off of what was reported after the Browns had announced the Monken hire. And then just basically how Monken handled his press conference, you know, saying, yeah, I mean, I chipped Myles Garrett. I didn't chip Jim Schwartz. Like, I'm not worried about what Jim Schwartz was doing. Like, I think it's been like, I don't want to say blatant disrespect because it's not, but like it did seem like he was purposely not giving the respect to Jim Schwartz within that statement.
Right. And of course he said it, and people tend to do this, not just Todd Monken, but everybody. You say something disrespectful about somebody after you throw in the line, with all due respect.
Yeah, with all due respect, he stinks. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that I actually would prefer him not to come back, even just from like a personal preference standpoint, not even getting into whether he actually wants to be here or not, just because like the fallout of that. I mean, he had a complete hissy fit, like it was which is understandable, but at the same time, he's been a head coach in the NFL before. You'd kind of hope he has like a little bit more professionalism than that. And I just don't want him to have a soured relationship immediately off the bat with Monken. Like, that's not getting his coaching tenure off to a good start if they're going to already be having rift. And like, you'd hope that he'd be professional, and I think that he would be, but I definitely think, just based off the initial reaction of him getting passed over, that there's a possibility where he might resent Monken a little bit. So, and I mean, he's been good for the Browns for sure, but like, I think there's plenty of defensive coordinators that could give you similar results with the type of talent that we got on that defense right now. So I actually think that I prefer him not to be back. If I had to say, I would say it's probably similar to Kevin. I would say maybe like 25-75 that he's back versus not being back.
I'm going to go 50-50 only based off of like, if he wants to coach, there's not many other options for him.
I'm gonna put you in a bind here. You got to pick one that's 51, and the other one's got to be 49. You got to lean one way on this.
I'm gonna say 51. He's not 49.
Okay,
he is.
all right.
But
it's close.
It is close to me because, again, Jim, obviously you want to be a head coach. That didn't work out for you. Every job's filled this cycle. So do you point blank want to coach in the NFL? Period. Because it's either here or the Raiders. Like, that's it. Those are your only two options. So you got to decide whether you want to do it.
I think out of pride, he might just go to Vegas if he's offered that. Just based off of how he's already handled the situation here, he might even take a pay cut to do so, just so that he's not. The reports of him wanting to leave and get out of here, and basically told the Browns to go screw themselves, and then you stay.
Well, the other thing with that too, though, is if the Browns really wanted to play hardball and make this messy, they can block him. He's under contract for 2 more years, and that's a completely lateral position. The only way that would be able to fly is if the Raiders made him like assistant head coach / defensive coordinator.
Which they easily could.
Right, they could, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a messy situation. We'll see what happens. Nobody wanted to touch it today, so that's what's interesting. One other thing about the Browns and Jim Schwartz that I wanted to talk about, Pastor, was to your point, and I do think you're making a fair point. Like, yeah, there's a lot of talent on this defense. The only thing I want to say, though, is there's a lot of the same cast of characters here, and we see it's not always – the DC does have some effect because we all remember the Joe Woods days, and they weren't pretty, and there's a lot of the same cast of characters here. So you would need somebody who runs the 4-3, and all Joe Woods ever wanted to do was play cover 2, and it just didn't – it didn't work.
No, they got cooked. Routinely.
Yeah, but we've definitely bolstered up the D line a lot more since then, and we've gotten a little deeper at DB too and safety. I mean, now our linebackers are much better. I would say we have a much better defense than we used to with Joe Woods there. I mean, like Carson Schlesinger out there.
That's true. He didn't have
is
him.
Crazy. Yeah,
I wouldn't see like Ronnie Hickman's played better under this defense than like John Johnson or Andrew Sendejo or Juan Thornhill played,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, like, the Browns, it would just suck to see them walk out the door from the point of view, like, they've hired a lot of failed head coaches and coordinators since 99. Like, Jim was probably the best coordinator hire they ever made.
Yes, 100%.
And just to see him walk out the door, and you don't want to see the other shoe drop because this team defense has been top 5 all 3 years Jim's been in the building. So you just don't want to see that drop off. And maybe they promote from within. I know a lot of people were thinking maybe Jason Tarver, who's been their linebacker, who's with Kevin's linebacker coach all 6 years, and he's also been a DC before for the Raiders back when they were in Oakland. Maybe they go that route. That's something Monken's going to have to work his way through because what's interesting is, to your point, all his Baltimore guys have followed him here. Mm-hmm. So we haven't heard hide nor hair about the defensive staff. And they asked Jimmy about that today, and he said they're all still in place unless Todd decides otherwise. So we'll see.
Because the OC hire, that was Todd Switzer or Travis Switzer, right?
Travis Switzer. Who was, I mean, it's all – to Pat Sorrell's point, I thought this was interesting too. Like, I can't believe how many guys are coming with Todd over going to New York with John.
Yeah.
That is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kevin?
He was pissed about that too, Harbaugh was. Like, I saw he was talking. I mean, obviously he's not going to come out and be like, oh, I'm pissed and whatnot, but there was a quote. He said he was trying to talk Monken out of it, and he wasn't exactly happy that, you know, he took the Browns job and he's taking his staff too. So,
wow, did we hire the best Ravens coach this offseason?
Maybe. Maybe. Time will tell.
He said maybe.
I don't know. According to Todd Monken, we did, because his opening.
His staff's following
He
him
said,
too.
he said, Jimmy and D cut me that check. Now it's my job to make sure we have a freaking kick-ass team.
All right.
Sure.
All right, Todd, we're waiting for it.
Yeah, we are. We've been waiting.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long, long time, buddy. Here's the thing, Todd. You've waited a long time for this job. The fans have waited a long time. Now it's up to you to bring everybody to happiness and fruition.
We're rooting for you, Todd.
well said.
So, any other Browns things you guys wanted to get out? Only other thing, football, I wanted to touch in general. Pick the Super Bowl real quick, but
yeah, let's do it.
no other Browns things we got to touch?
I got nothing Browns-wise right now. I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Nothing. I think we touched on everything we needed to.
Maybe just initial thoughts here. There's a lot of time still leading up to the draft, but as we stand today, would you rather see them take a wide receiver or a tackle at 6 overall?
So logic would tell you tackle because it's a more valuable position, and we've seen receivers get drafted in the second round before, and the drop-off doesn't seem to be too steep from the second round to the first round when it comes to receivers, just based off historical data in the draft. However, I don't really think I see a tackle that's worth taking at 6, and I also don't think it's worth. I don't think there's a receiver worth taking at 6. I just don't think it's a deep draft. I am kind of almost dead set right now on Carnell Tate at 6, because first off, I don't think Caleb Downs is going to be there. That would be my number one option right now, just because I do think he's the best player in the draft, and we're not going to be in the quarterback market based off of who's going to be on the board. Caleb Downs would be my number one guy. But I just want the Browns to have a reliable receiver that can catch a jump ball, that's a decent route, that's a good route runner. He doesn't have to have the breakaway speed, which Carnell Tate does not, but he wins jump balls, he wins in double coverage, he wins on slant patterns, he doesn't drop the ball. Like, I would just rather get the surefire bet. Like, I think Carnell Tate's going to be almost a lock to be a top 15, 20 receiver at some point in his career. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be that top 5, top 10 guy, but I think he's going to be reliable enough to be a number one receiver for you.
Yeah, I think I'm a little torn on it because I think I like Jordan Tyson a lot too, but his injury history is a little bit scary. I think if they were to, I don't think the opportunity will present itself to trade down a few spots, but if it were to, I would actually be down to draft Caleb Downs, I think. I mean, it's a pretty wide receiver deep draft. I don't think there's necessarily too many that are like top shelf in this draft. Right. Like you have, you know, Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson, but like in past drafts, like they might not even have been a top 10 pick possibly. I mean, Carnell Tate, like I like the prospect. He was good, but he was never even number one on, you know, OSU.
He was never a number one.
He's still like a little bit to be proven, I think. Like I don't think he's a home run pick. And the injury with Tyson and whatnot. And but I think maybe if they see a tackle that they like, I would be down to take a tackle too. I think at number 6 would probably be my preference.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I think my number one option for sure would also be to trade down. I don't know if this draft's the draft that people are like, oh, I need to go trade up for this guy type of draft, you know? So it becomes a matter of like, who would your partner be at that point? I don't think anybody would be willing to do it. Right. So I think we'll probably end up sticking and picking at 6. And
I agree. I think we'll stick and pick at 6. And I think I'm good with tackle or receiver. Either or, they need both desperately. So, like, if they draft a receiver, I'm not going to be angry. And if they draft a tackle, I'm not going to be angry.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, right now I would want, like I just said, Tate at 6 would be my dream right now. If they were to go wide receiver or tackle, because I actually think that Utah tackle they're talking about, Fano, Spencer Fano is pretty solid, but he played right tackle, and the dude that played opposite of him, left tackle, Caleb Lomu, is supposed to go in the 20s, which is where our other first-round pick is. So I figure if you're going to get a tackle from that school, you might want to get the one that's protecting the blind side.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's also so early, like, because we haven't gone through the combine and we haven't gone through pro days where guys literally shoot or drop, shoot up the board or drop down the board. Like, because Andrew Barry even made this. Somebody asked about the draft today, and he made a comment. He's like, if you would have told me right now, like February 3rd last year, that we were going to take a running back and a linebacker in the second round, I would have told you you're crazy. So, like, you don't know, and we still got to watch these guys all go through pro days, still got to watch them all go through the combine, and then, the geeks will tell us what should happen, and then even they're still not right.
Right.
Speaking of shooting up the boards, how about local Ty Montgomery from John Carroll shooting up? I don't know if you guys have seen too much of him.
I've seen a little bit of that.
Yeah, he went from probably not even getting drafted or borderline getting drafted to getting an invite to the Senior Bowl, and he was the wide receiver standout of the entire week. I saw some listings of who people thought were their best receivers or best position players in that entire week, and a lot of them had Ty Montgomery number one. That's
pretty cool.
He was making some good catches out there. So he was looking pretty good. So he might go day 2 now. We'll see. But it was probably actually the most meteoric rise of anyone in recent memory, I would say.
Oh, they're saying day 2 for him, huh?
Possibly. They said maybe top 100.
I saw a little bit about this yesterday because I didn't know, and I didn't really follow the Senior Bowl at all. Like, because I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure the Browns had like secondary people there, but a lot of their primary people weren't even down there because they were trying to, probably. Monken's building the staff. Barry's probably, helping Monken do so and whatnot. So, I mean, without the Browns being down there, I did not follow it as much. But
he's a cool story though. I was reading. He didn't play football until a couple years ago. Actually, he was a walk-on basketball player at LSU, and he had said that he learned to run routes from doing crossovers in basketball, which is pretty interesting. But you can kind of see it by some of his route running. So good luck to him and the upcoming draft, and it'll be exciting to see how his career plays out. But I think he's a gem. So.
And our listening audience may not know this, but you're a fellow Blue Streak.
For sure.
Along with Ty.
Had to shout out the fellow Blue Streaks.
Yeah, we actually had Jerome and I had a former classmate of ours from BW that ended up going pro and was on not the practice squad, but he was on the training camp roster for the Browns.
He was also was on the roster for the Titans.
And then I want to say the Ravens as well. He might have been on the practice squad and then we had him in for training camp. Yeah, Anthony Kendall was a pretty good corner at BW.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll obviously talk more draft as we get closer to it, but let's talk about the final football game of the NFL 2025 NFL season. It brings us, fellas, to the Seahawks and the Patriots this Sunday in Santa Clara. The latest odds I have here is Seattle is a 4.5-point favorite. Big game, obviously, as it is every year. How do you guys feel? What are you thinking, Kevin?
I like the Patriots in this one. I'm going to be cheering for the Seahawks. I'm going to cheer for Sam Darnold to be the first quarterback from that draft class to win a Super Bowl. Not only go to one, but to win one. I'm just sick of seeing the Patriots. The 3-year turnaround time basically, and they're already back in the Super Bowl is kind of annoying. But that's who I'm going to be rooting for is the Seahawks. But I see New England getting it done for some reason. It's just a gut feeling for me.
So you like them to cover and win as underdogs?
Yeah,
huh?
Correct. Yep.
Matt?
Yeah, this is a little bit of a tough one because I think that the common fan probably is just going to assume the Seahawks are going to win. I do ultimately think that the Seahawks are going to win, but I think it's going to be a closer game than some people might think. But I think that if the Seahawks can start out with the lead and make Drake May throw the ball and limit maybe some of Sam Darnold's throwing opportunities, that they might have a chance to win just because he's been good this year, of course, Darnold, but I think there's always that chance where he could just slip into a turnover-prone game, and so I think if they can get a touchdown lead early and be able to run the ball a little bit more, I know they're down there starting running back, but I still like them to win. I think the Patriots defense is obviously incredible though, and it'll definitely keep it close. But I think I like the Patriots to probably cover, but I think I like the Seahawks to win.
Ooh, so a close one.
I think we're gonna get a good game on Sunday.
Patriots to win by 4 or less. Pass has.
Yeah, that's right. No, the Seahawks to win.
Or the Seahawks to win. Excuse me. Yep.
Yeah. I like the Seahawks to cover and win. I think, a lot of people have been making, comments about it, but I do think New England had a rather easy path to the Super Bowl. I think the NFC was head and shoulders above the AFC this year. And I think Seattle is battle tested, and they played, good teams. They had to play, the Rams, obviously. They had to play the 49ers, who they beat the brinks off of. Obviously, 49ers had a lot of injuries.
Yep.
But you know what? I do like Seattle to cover and win. I worry about, from New England's point of view, I worry about Drake May in his first Super Bowl. He turned the ball over a handful of times in the playoffs, and both these teams have good defenses, but I think I do like Seattle to cover and win in Super Bowl 60. Can you guys believe that already?
No.
I feel like we were just watching 50. So
I think it's funny that we all three of us have different takes on this one.
Yeah, and then of course the listeners could comment us and let us know what they think as well. Because all three of us in the room here are different as far as the hosts. All right, guys, let's get into the National Basketball Association and why we brought Matt here tonight. Not that he doesn't know the NFL, but he just gave you some very good opinions. But this is where his expertise is. So let's start. I think we got to start with, we haven't been on recorded an episode since the Cavs did ship out DeAndre Hunter to Sacramento, and they brought in Dennis Schroeder, who's now officially played for all 32 teams. No, I'm just kidding, but it's getting close with him joining the Cavaliers, and obviously Keon Ellis is coming as well. I'll tell you my thoughts real quick, and then I'll let you guys talk. It's weird to me because we thought when we got DeAndre Hunter, that was the piece to put us over the top last year.
Oh, yeah.
And that was Kevin's claim to fame. When everybody wanted Cam Johnson, including me, Kevin was the first person I heard publicly to say, why don't we look at DeAndre Hunter? They did. It worked out for last year to a point. I don't think it ever really worked out as well as Altman and Kenny Atkinson envisioned. And then this year, it did not work out. And then right as he started to seem to be turning his seasons around, the Cavs had already made up their mind, and they were shipping him off to California. As far as what they got back, Dennis Schroeder, no matter where he's been, all jokes aside, on like the 15 or 16 teams he's been on, he's always been an effective point guard.
Yeah.
And I think he'll serve that role well here. Now the Cavs do have to offload Lonzo somehow. They have to find a taker for that. Good luck in that regard. At least it's an expiring deal. I think that's going to be good. And then Ellis plays good defense, and he's shooting 38% from three, so that's not a bad ad either. And they did shed some money by unloading DeAndre Hunter, which is now furthers the possibilities of what they can do before Thursday's deadline. So overall, I'm not upset about the trade. I am a little just bummed out that the Hunter thing never worked as well as we anticipated. And it seemed right when he was turning around his season, the Cavs had already made up their mind, see ya, you're gone, and that's what they did.
Yeah, so remind me again, what was the initial deal that we traded? When we got DeAndre Hunter, it was 2 second-round picks, Karis LeVert, and did we send Niang in that deal?
Niang went
too. So now I'm looking at it as 2 second-round picks, Niang, LeVert, for Schroeder and Ellis is kind of the way I'm looking at it. I just want to say, Jerome, kind of piggybacking off what you were saying, I was so high on us acquiring DeAndre Hunter last year. I really thought the size, length, the way he shot the three ball, the way that he held his own on defense. He was a way better defender in college than he was in the NBA, but he was still a solid defender, above average defender, I thought, in the NBA. I thought you slid him into this starting five with the 2 playmakers in the backcourt and the 2 bigs in the front court. I thought it was going to literally transition seamlessly, and it obviously just did not. For some reason, it just never worked here. He couldn't get on the same page, at least this year, with the cast around him. And when it dropped, we were all together, actually. The 3 of us were together when this news dropped, or we were about to be together when this news dropped, so we discussed it almost immediately. I was not a huge fan of it at the time. I just think Hunter's value for a team is greater than Schroeder and Ellis's. But if it's not working here, you don't want it to be, kind of going back to what we talked about with the albatross. Either you don't want to be, you don't want it to be a sunk cost fallacy where you're just holding on to somebody and just praying it works, and then the team's diminishing as a result of that. So I get trying to get out from underneath it. You get a backup point guard in the process. That Jerome, to your point, has been a consistently good backup point guard in this league. He definitely fumbled the bag with the Lakers all those years ago when they were about to offer him $100 million and he declined it. But now what?
I was just going to say, even no matter where he goes, is not only is he consistent, he's an elevator. Look when the Pistons acquired him last year, how much more consistently they were.
Sure, he's a guard that consistently makes the right play and he doesn't turn the ball over a lot, and that's what you want out of your back. That's what I thought we were going to get with Lonzo Ball this year when we made that trade with the Bulls.
Love that trade too. It just hasn't worked.
Yeah, I liked the trade too when it happened, and I was maybe Isaac Okoro's biggest fan in the city when it happened. But
you are.
I understood the upside of the deal. Going after a guy who's never been a great three-point shooter, but you didn't need him to be a three-point shooter, just a guy that can attack, dish, rebound, and Lonzo Ball seems to be doing everything but that for this team. So you go out, you get your backup point guard, and Ellis, a guy that I didn't know a lot about. You've actually been the one informing me a lot about him. Based off of what he can do from three, how he's scrappy. I know he hasn't gotten a ton of minutes for the Kings this year. You kind of got to like the upside of this. And I think this is more so not necessarily a move the Cavs made as Hunter stinks and we got to get him out of here. I think this could almost be looked at as a compliment to Jalen Tyson and how much this team actually trusts him now in that role to be able to play the three, play the four, hustle out there, hit the big-time shots. Jalen Tyson's one of those guys I look out there almost as like a Josh Hart for this team now. A guy that you don't expect to randomly jump up and grab one of those rebounds in between a 7-footer and another guy that's 6'7" plus, but he does get in there and do that. So he's definitely a guy that obviously the Cavs are high on, and I think this trade can honestly be a result of how high that they are on Tyson.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the trade. I think just where it went wrong with DeAndre, unfortunately, he was good for us last year, but I think what we were asking him to do this year was different than the role that we carved out for him last year. Just losing Ty Jerome was somebody, who gave you a consistent 15, 20 points a game last year and could obviously just go off in spurts. And you were asking, DeAndre Hunter to, score the ball, but not handle the ball as much, not create his own offense as much. And I think just this year, he was asked to do a lot more, carry a bigger responsibility on the offense, and I don't think that he was quite cut out for it. And there's just certain guys where, they're going to excel in their role off the bench. Just ask them to score, catch and shoot, and they're going to be good at that. And I think that's more what he is. I don't think that he's really somebody that you can just give the ball and say, hey, go get us a bucket. I appreciated what he was able to do for us last year. He was only shooting 30% from three so far this year. And, obviously you can't have that on a championship contending team. So, to be able to ship him out and get back, he was also due $26 million next year. So that saves you a little bit there too. And then you get back two guys who are kind of junkyard dogs. They're able to, be scrappy on defense. Keon Ellis is top 5-6% in the NBA this year in deflections. Add him to a team that's got Tomlin and Jordan Tyson. Now you got four guys who are a little bit more scrappy and kind of got that dog kind of mentality, which we've been lacking for the last 5-6 years at least. To be able to get somebody like that is going to really change, I think, how they're going to approach the point of attack on defense. So hopefully they'll get less blow-bys, and that's something that's killed the Cavs this year. We give up a lot of open threes because you got guys like Lonzo Ball, Darius Garland getting cooked immediately, and then everybody's scrambling to help, and you make a couple passes, and our rotations aren't always the crispest, and that's how you get open guys for three. So hopefully we'll see less of that, maybe get some more steals too on the defensive end, but and then, Keon Ellis is, a solid three-point shooter. Schroeder can score the ball as well, too. And just to be able to have somebody that can handle the ball and create a little bit for himself will be good. You can never have too many ball handlers on a team. So I'm excited about that trade. I think it's going to be a good thing for the Cavs. And I think it's not, necessarily a trade where you're like, oh, we're going to win the championship or we can win the championship now. But like, obviously we're hopefully going to be making some trades here, at least a trade or two. And I think that could just be a contributing factor to hopefully help us get at least out of the Eastern Conference this year. And in the year where it's been, incredibly wide open and more open than probably any year in recent memory. So got to take advantage of that. So I'm a fan of the move.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, like we said, the DeAndre Hunter just wasn't working this year. So, and anybody who's watched the Cavaliers knows that they needed a backup point guard. And you're right in the fact that he can't, short of that being, can't create for himself. And he's not a terrible three-point shooter. He's not the best either, but, he can knock down a tray here or there for you, which is important too. Now, obviously the big rumors circulating around the Cavs is this hypothetical, but
I think it's more than hypothetical at this point.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that is the wrong word because it does have some serious legs to it. This James Harden for Darius Garland trade. Now, I will just offer my opinion on two things that I've been very clear about since this podcast beginning. I've wanted to trade Darius Garland for years. Kevin knows that. Kevin knows that the second we lost to the Celtics, I wanted to trade him. I was worried we couldn't get anything for him. I think ever since then, his value's probably just continued to decrease, honestly. On the flip side, I hate James Harden. Always have. Probably always will, quite honestly. I've never liked him. He stole LeBron's 2018 MVP. I mean,
He definitely did. We were talking about that a few episodes ago.
There's nothing I like about the guy. Now, what the bottom line is, and the whole league knows, and the whole league and fans have known for a while, is the Darius at point guard, if you're going to have Donovan, is just not worked to the point where it was supposed to work. And I think the league's seen that for a while. So obviously you're not getting rid of Donovan Mitchell, the second best player in franchise history besides LeBron. I think he's better than Mark Price. I've been on record saying that many times. You're not getting rid of him. And you need to ensure he stays here. I did not realize until it was brought up to me today, quite honestly, that Donovan has the rest of this year and one more year, and he's free again. That extension he signed was only 3 years. So you, as the Cavaliers, need to make sure to do everything in your power to ensure he still wants to be around here for the long term. And he may know that the Darius thing isn't working. Him and Darius are tight. They're buddies. They're boys. We know that. Mm-hmm. But it's not working. And Kobe Altman was the last one on planet Earth to realize, and now he's trying to correct it any way, shape, or form, and it's tough to do at a deadline, but you need to do it now to ensure that Donovan has confidence by the summer with whoever this person is, if it is James Harden, whoever it is. But the most important thing, I hate to say it, he's homegrown. He's been here a long, long, long time. Second longest tenured Cav, I think, outside of Dean Wade. Darius has got to go.
Yeah, so I do want to counter you really quick, Jerome, with after the Celtics series of what would have been 2024, right?
Yeah.
That playoff series when they lost in 5 to the Celtics, and you feel like Garland's trade value's only gotten worse since then when you wanted to trade him.
You remember that?
I do remember that, and at the time I was countering you on it, and I was like, no, he's a 24-year-old first-time All-Star, like. There's a market for a 24-year-old All-Star, right? So I was like, no, we got to hold. That year, he was an All-Star. The following year after, he was an All-Star. So I would argue probably at that point, ever since the toe injury, it's only gone downhill. Because I think even at the halfway marker last year, I think he had pretty good trade value because he had been announced that he was going to be in the All-Star game at the age of 25. So I do think Darius Garland, and Darius Garland's a guy that I do want to preface this. I'm absolutely a Darius Garland apologist. In 2019, everybody wanted, Jarrett Culver in that draft because we needed a wing, and I was never high on him, and I was just like best player available. If DeAndre Hunter, ironically, was in that draft as well, if he's not there, I want Darius Garland. That's who the Cavs drafted, and I've just kind of, rode with Darius this entire way. It obviously has not worked. I'm not an idiot to that. I'm not blind to that. It obviously has not worked with them in the backcourt. together. I just think if this is going to be a 1-for-1, which it sounds like it's not going to be, it sounds like the Clippers would have to throw us something else. But just one versus one, looking at it, Garland versus Harden with this team. Yes, I do think the team gets better this year if you insert James Harden, strictly due to availability alone. I think he'll be out there on the court. Even on the court play, James Harden's objectively a better player at this point in his career than Darius Garland is. My concern is how this affects this team long term if you do make this move. Because inevitably in a year or two, whether Harden retires or whether he just decides he doesn't want to be here anymore like he has in I don't even know if he demanded out in OKC. But
he did.
Okay, then he's out. Yes, because it was due to contract again. It was due to a contract again. So he wanted out in OKC. He wanted out in Houston. He wanted out in Brooklyn. He wanted out in Philly. He wants out now in Los Angeles. Like everywhere he goes after, excluding Houston, after 2 years, he just wants out of the place, even sometimes less than 2 years. And he was in Brooklyn for how long? 2 months before they shipped him out of there?
It wasn't very long, and he wanted out of Houston, too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. He wanted out of Houston, got to his preferred destination of Brooklyn, and then decided 2 months later he didn't want to be there, and then they traded him to Philly. He played for 3 teams in 1 year.
Yeah, no, he
So it does concern me where the team would stand if you make a move like this, because let's say it doesn't work. James Harden's a year older. I think even with the injury history that Darius Garland has, at that point he still probably holds more trade value than James Harden does. I need something else back with James Harden in order for me to be confident in this move moving forward.
Well, here's the other thing, and Matt, I know you have a lot to say, but real quick on that, I'm sorry to cut you off. James Harden has a $2.5 million trade bonus, which the Cavs would then have to pay. James Harden also has a veto trade power, so if he doesn't want to come here, he could choose that. They've got to, in my opinion, they've got to find something else between now until Thursday to move Darius for, because I don't think the Harden thing's going to work. Ultimately, when you factor in all this money and everything with the NBA cap, which I've said numerous times, and I'll say again, you need a college degree to understand it. It's the most complicated cap in the league. I don't know. I just don't see it being able them to find a match, because the Clippers aren't going to be able to send you a draft cap. I just don't see it working. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. Well, to that point, I was reading that Jake Fisher said he is kind of focused on the Cavs. James Harden is. So
yeah, I was going to say, I think if he wasn't interested and would have vetoed the trade, I think we would have heard that by now.
Yeah, I don't think it would have got out. I don't think the Cavs would want that to get out, that they were in advanced discussions and that with Garland, and just have that backfire. And then with the trade kicker, Garland has one as well, but he's actually not able to get any of that money because he's already capped out with the Cavs. And then Harden's only able to get, I think it's $200,000 out of that kicker that he's due as well, just due to that financial salary cap stuff that I'm not super great about.
No, nobody is.
But it's tough to understand even for people who actually study it. So for the average person,
ESPN
you don't know
has a
those
guy
intricacies.
whose sole job is once a trade happens, and Bobby Cox, or what's his name, Bobby Fox?
Bobby Marks. I think.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm thinking of the old Braves manager. Yeah, Bobby Marks, whose job is basically to put it on a big board and explain to everybody how it happens, because it's so complicated. But go ahead.
Exactly,
Sorry to interrupt.
Exactly. No, all good. But I think it's a little disappointing that it's come to this point, just given what Kevin said. He's a 2-time All-Star. I mean, we saw how good he was from a young age for the Cavs before Donovan Mitchell got here. His career trajectory would probably look a little different right now if Donovan Mitchell never came here. But he's just But I don't know. I think he's just unfortunately a little too injury prone, and it's not his fault, but it's just the reality of the situation. I mean, he gets hit in the face all the time. He's always getting banged up. Obviously now he's got this toe injury, which it sounds like the Cavs might think this is going to be a long-term injury and a lingering thing. And obviously his entire game is predicated on being able to cut and being shifty and all that. And he's going to have to play the rest of the year with plates in his shoes, they're saying. So I don't know. I just think that when the East is this wide open, that you should be able to, you should take a chance on it. I think you should should go for Harden there. And like, I understand too the point about, down the road, how this might, limit their window a little bit, but I also think you can look at like Trae Young in Atlanta. I mean, he pretty much got salary dumped. Like he didn't have very much value, and he's like a very similar player to Darius Garland. I mean, Garland's not a good defender. He tries. It's not for lack of effort, but it's just due to a lack of size. And I mean, he's not the quickest, like speed wise either. Obviously, he's very shifty, but in terms of just like raw speed, he's not the fastest. So I think that you add a scorer who's, I would say he's a better scorer for sure at this point. I know it's not quite as efficient this year, but I mean, he's a better rebounder. Harden's a better defender. Not that he's the world's best defender or anything, but he's a lot more physical and bigger. I think he's still a better passer than Garland is, and it's a little unfortunate because you're talking about a 26-year-old two-time All-Star, but I don't think that even right now that he's better than current 36-year-old James Harden. And like we were talking about, to just, keep Donovan Mitchell happy, I don't think that he's going to want to stick around if we get bounced early in the playoffs this year and next year either. So I think to go all in like that and show him that, hey, we're not just going to sit on our heels here and take you for granted. Like, we're going to go try to do everything we can to help you out here. I think that signals a good thing to him too. And, obviously he's boys with Garland, but you can be friends and not be on the same team anymore. Like, it's obviously happened in the NBA where good friends get traded or, split, and they're still friends outside of basketball. So just keeping it strictly to business, like, they're professionals. I think Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are able to separate that. So, and then just from the Clippers standpoint, like, I think that's probably about as good of a return as you're going to get for a 36-year-old James Harden, like, buying low on Garland, hoping that he can come back to form. He has a little more time to figure it out there. The Cavs are obviously on a tighter window, just trying to keep Donovan Mitchell happy. And then, like, I don't know. Like I was saying, I think that you should just turn Garland into Harden if you're able to. Just like, due to the fact that, I mean, a year or two from now, you don't know what his injury is going to be like. I mean, he might have no value in a year or two. So I'm cool with taking a swing for Harden here and seeing if we can make a subsequent move maybe. I don't think Giannis is probably too likely. I think it's a possibility. I wish. But
I think it's a pipe dream too, but man, I would be pumped.
Yeah, so maybe we'll be able to swing a subsequent move. Like, I know they're still talking about trading Jared Allen, and we saw Jaren Jackson today go for 3 first-rounders and quite a haul, which we'll talk about later too. But
I saw the Cavs checked in on Anthony Davis today too.
I did.
That one makes me angry.
I wouldn't be a fan of that.
Does it really piss you off?
Oh, I can't stand Anthony Davis. I think they're not. Go ahead, Matt. Continue.
Yeah, no. If we're talking about like 2020 Lakers Anthony Davis, I'd be all for it. But like, at this point, I mean, he's probably the most injured player in the NBA. He's still making like $60 million, so you have to match that salary. So who are you sending out? I mean, I'm definitely not trading Evan Mobley. Clearly, that would be probably the stupidest decision the franchise has ever made if you're going to trade 24-year-old Evan Mobley.
Would you trade Jared Allen for him?
I would, I think. But
I wouldn't even do that.
But he's only making like half of what
the salaries wouldn't even
making.
come close to lining up.
Yeah, like, we would have to ravish the team to be able to even make that work. So I don't think it's even worth considering. Like, I'm not really sure what that conversation looked like, but I can't imagine it was like too long of one.
Like,
I don't know. I mean, the Mavericks probably were like, hey, we gave up Luka for this guy.
Right,
like, we need a hell of a return.
Yeah.
Well, like, that's the thing. Unfortunately, with Jared Allen, he has been here a long, long, long time.
2020.
Yeah.
He was part of the initial James Harden deal.
Yes, he was. And he continuously has phenomenal regular seasons, and then when the calendar flips to April, the guy goes AWOL. And you can't keep having that year in and year out, and the Cavs have. So, yes, it does suck to move Jared Allen, just like the Darius Garland. You grow accustomed to guys who have been here for a long time and guys who really do a lot in the community, and both Jared and Darius do that.
And we've seen them grow as players from when they got here. Like, we've seen their development from when, I mean, for Jared Allen, he wasn't drafted here, but he might as well have been. I think he was only 2 years into the league, maybe.
Yeah, he wasn't around long. No, and they're both guys who are very active in the Cleveland community. They do a lot, and they really, and ingratiated is, I don't know if that's even a word.
I don't know if it is either, but we'll roll with it.
They became ingrained.
Yeah,
in
ingrained. But they've really been ingrained in the community, and they've done a lot. And so it just sucks to see them go. But ultimately, the basketball team has to come before all of that. And for the basketball team to succeed, they probably both need to go.
Yeah, I think I like Jared Allen the person. We've seen what he can do on the basketball court sometimes. I mean, usually it's against less physical centers, but I mean, he did just
look what he did the other night.
Yeah, he did just torch 7-3 Donovan Clingan the other night for 42, 17, and 5 with no turnover.
He was unbelievable. I watched that entire game, and it was phenomenal watching him.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that he's got it in him, but I don't think he channels it enough, and I don't think that he's just I don't think he has that kind of dog mentality in him. And it honestly annoyed me a little bit, him making that joke again on Christmas at the Garden, saying the lights are too bright.
Yeah, what the hell?
That's getting old. That bit needs to be retired.
And then he went out and had a complete dud. So, that didn't help his cause. So, I mean, he's obviously talented, and there's not a ton of, skilled bigs in the NBA. So I think that you could still definitely get a good return for him. But I think at this point he's probably more valuable as a trade piece than he is to winning a championship. If I'm on the Cavs, if I'm a player and I'm going into an NBA Finals game, I'm not sure that I'm thinking that he's the dog that I need to help win the championship, So I'm not exactly sure, I guess, what a trade like that would look like. But I would definitely be looking to explore that for sure, and hopefully selling high after that performance. You can still see he's got it in him.
Oh, for sure,
a little bit. So,
yeah, and I think I saw too that the Cavs were at least, I don't know if they were actively shopping him, but I think they were garnering where teams were at with their interest in Jared Allen to see what they could get for him, or maybe just package him with something to go after a bigger fish. It's NBA trade deadline season. I've grown since we've graduated from college. I think my interest has dwindled each year with the NBA. I still watch Cavs games, of course, but I'm not as invested in the league itself. But NBA trade deadline, those 2 to 3 days leading up to the actual deadline itself is always so much fun. There's always 30 trades that happen. Phones constantly going off.
Yeah.
It's a fun time.
It is. And I think you're going to see the Cavs, I don't see them... To one of you guys' points, and forgive me, I can't remember which one of you made it. I don't see the Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis thing being the end of their deadline. There's definitely more to come, and I'm just curious as to what it is. I just don't see at this point any chance of Darius Garland being a Cavalier Thursday or Friday morning.
I don't either. Brian Windhorst had said today, basically, that James Harden has basically put it in his head that past Thursday he's going to be a Cleveland Cavalier, and Darius Garland has it in his head that he's going to be a Los Angeles Clipper as of Thursday.
And I think the deal will eventually happen. I think that the problem is...
We got an update at noon that it was supposed to be done relatively soon, and as we record, it's now... just past 8 o'clock, again, Tuesday evening. It's been 8 hours since it was supposed to be done soon.
I think
soon's a relative
the biggest problem is matching the money and the actual logistics of it all. They know Harden's going to be in white and gold and Garland's going to be in red and blue.
Pass was saying that as we drove in. He's I think the entire structure's been laid out. It's just a matter of particulars.
Yeah, it's the money, and do you need a third team to make something else match? And they most likely are probably going to have to pull in a third team.
Well, it's actually straight up as you can get. If you can swap both of them straight up for each other and it works.
Something
you don't need any
$200,000 or something like that.
Yeah. You don't. So that's an acceptable trade to make, just straight up. So we wouldn't need anything for that. But then the Cavs have been reported to want a draft pick back, which is understandable if you're trading your 26-year-old
10 years younger.
You obviously would like to get a draft pick for that, and then maybe you could use that to go flip it for another player too. So I think that's probably more the hang up at this point. But I would imagine that they've already come to terms with the fact that they're okay with trading Darius Garland if they've allowed this information to go public and all that. So I think the ship has sailed on that. And he could come back, but it might be a little awkward at that point. But he is a professional. I don't think that he would throw a temper tantrum and we would see a lack of productivity from that. But I don't think, I'm not going to say that it's not possible that he could be back here still after the deadline Thursday. But I think at this point, it's more likely than not that Harden will be here. And one other thing that I forgot to mention too, in terms of why I'm in favor of this trade, is that come playoff time, I know Harden's had some stinkers. He's also had some monster playoff games. Garland's had a lot of stinkers.
In the playoffs.
But I think too that something to be not understated is the fact that James Harden gets the whistle. And Darius Garland does not get a whistle. And come playoff time, that might get you an extra 6-7 points in a game at the free throw line. I think that's not something to be looked past. I think he gets more respect than Garland, unfortunately. So I think that's a big thing to look at too.
The thing that's so annoying about that, though, is that watching that 76ers team when it had Embiid and James Harden, and even going to those games, being in the arena.
It's unwatchable.
It is unwatchable basketball. It is a free throw. I think Joel Embiid and James Harden that game had to have combined for 40 free throws, combined. It is so obnoxious. And the fact that I'm going to be rooting for him at the free throw line as he flails his arms up and gets a whistle. Do you think he's going to be able to wear number 13, or do you think they're holding that on reserve for Tristan Thompson?
I don't know. I didn't even think about that.
He'll wear it. I would imagine.
If he wants 13, he's got 13.
I will say this.
They're letting Lonzo Ball wear 2, and they're not holding it for Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly think, my whole basketball watching time, I couldn't stand watching Harden, and, the fact that I'm going to have to watch him and root for him does make my stomach disgusted. It really does. It makes my stomach turn. But if it's what I got to look at it, I got to be the bigger man here. I can't stand James Harden.
James Harden hoisting the Larry O'Brien in a Cavs jersey. What do you think about that?
It means the Cavs won a championship,
okay.
so I'm okay with it. I look at it like this. I can't stand the guy. I would rather watch reruns of Seinfeld and Friends than watch James Harden play basketball.
You like those shows.
I know. But
usually people come out with shows
something
they
that don't like.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. That was a bad example. But
I get your point, though. You'd rather watch...
rather watch paint dry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd rather watch HGTV, which I never watch.
All right, perfect. That's good.
Than watch James Harden play basketball. But if it does, the most important two things, if it gives me a better chance at a better crack at the Larry O'Brien, I'm in. And if it makes...
it broke. It just
live.
happened.
Let's go. It's
official. Just happened. All right, let's see if there's any details.
Yeah, read
did they really hold off for just this? This is from Sham Sharania. The Los Angeles Clippers are trading James Harden to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Darius Garland and a second-round pick. That's it.
So we gave a pick up.
That's interesting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gave up a pick.
I guess we relented on that, which I see, but I would have thought
just continued. Harden and the Clippers worked through his exit over the last few days, resulting in a beneficial outcome for the sides. A win-now opportunity for Harden, playing at a high level at 36, and recent two-time All-Star in Cleveland at 26 for the Clippers' present and future. Man, I got to admit, I really thought we were going to get a little bit more than just Harden in this. I thought we might be shipping out Lonzo and getting a Derek Jones or an Ivica Zubac or another draft pick or something. I'm a little bit underwhelmed with this trade.
I'd have to look at the salaries, if that were to match up. I think it was just the easiest thing.
Let me say this, too.
I'm glad this happened before we stopped recording.
I'm pumped that we got to cover that right as it broke. We're literally talking about it right when it happened.
Hour 8 into the show.
How better could it be?
Seriously.
I'm going to say this, too. The Garland value, we all knew it was tanked. Did we realize it was this low that you were only going to be able to get a 36-year-old? I don't think even the biggest Garland true realists like me who have been criticizing him and been on his case for years, I thought we always could get maybe 2 second rounders. No, we had to give a pick up to make this happen.
Yeah.
So I think it shows you the league does not have any. Darius Garland holds very little value in this league.
Yeah, because you would think if you're talking with the Clippers about this James Harden deal, right, and it goes public, there had to have been other teams thinking 2-time All-Star at 26. Let's see if we can get him at a discount here And obviously there was no offer better. Like, and Kobe Altman's been one I think that has actually done well when it's come to trades. Like, he facilitated the Jared Allen trade. Obviously got DeAndre Hunter here. Obviously got Donovan Mitchell here. Like, I think he's done a pretty good job when it comes to the trades. So obviously he didn't think that we'd be able to get anything else other than what we just got.
I think we all knew that there wasn't much of a market out there. I mean, I just told you, I think the market has dropped off a cliffside since that Boston series 2 years ago, and you countered me with that. But if nothing else, let's say that even you're right, Kevin. The market's dropped off a cliffside in the last year.
Yeah, it absolutely. Well, especially they've been talking about this toe injury all year, and Pass, you alluded to it earlier in the episode. But if it is going to be a long-term lingering issue, and you feel like in 2 years, like you said, he's still going through the injuries and you can't get anything for him, you might as well have not looked back and thought, I wish we would have went in on that Harden deal and seen what that team could have done.
I don't want that to be this era's Amari Stoudemire, if you know what I mean.
J.J. Hickson held back that deal.
Yeah.
J.J. Hickson. We would have had Mo Williams, LeBron, and Amari Stoudemire, and I think we could have absolutely. I think that's a good point.
I don't want that regret.
Well, and I'll tell you what. All the strip clubs downtown better get ready. You have a new customer every night.
But yeah, going back to the trade value though, like I was saying, I mean, Trae Young was pretty much salary dumped. I mean, Ja Morant has very little trade market right now.
No, they can't find anyone to take the guy.
I think just like that type of guard, just like the smaller guard, unfortunately, especially like an injured one. Like, I mean, Ja Morant's obviously had his injury issues. Garland's had his injury issues. Just like across the league, I think that's definitely tanked that type of player's value. And really, honestly, like finding a scoring point guard isn't that hard anymore in the NBA. Like, obviously, Garland brings you more than that, but when you couple that with how much he's making right now, the injury concerns, like I'm not really surprised that he doesn't have like a super robust market. But I know we're talking about 36-year-old James Harden, but he's still a 25-point per game scorer. I mean, he's not a slouch. Like he's getting you. That's good value for this year at least, and probably the next. Obviously, this is a move for the next couple of years. And
couple that with the fact. Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
To couple that with the fact that Harden's obviously actively looking for an extension. Like, this is obviously this year and probably 2 more years you're looking at with this, and at that point he's going to be frickin' 38 years old. By the time he's probably done here. Or maybe even sooner. I mean, the guy might request a trade tomorrow.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, there's a real chance that if things don't go well in the playoffs, that this is it. Like, he's out of here by June. And
or I should say request a trade today, since he's
my
going to release
thing
8 a.m. on Thursday.
And I know that this is a factor for me. Does Donovan Mitchell like it? Did Altman go to Donovan Mitchell and say, "Do you like the idea of getting because that is the most important thing here." Let's be honest. You just pointed it out. James Harden is either going to be gone by June or at the latest gone in a year and a half. He's not here anywhere past that. Past the end of next season, I don't see him being here. You want Donovan Mitchell to be here for the next 5-6 years. So you, as Dan Gilbert, as the chairman and owner, and Kobe Altman is the president of basketball ops, did you go to Donovan today and say, Donovan, will this make you sign the dotted line? Is there a better chance now? Does this up the chance? That is so important to this entire procedure because you can't lose Mitchell. Because then what? You're gonna roll the ball out next year with James Harden? Come on, so that can't be realistic.
A couple things here. I think you could actually look at this and think maybe the Cavs think pretty highly about Tyrese Proctor as well. Honestly, if this is going to be you're shipping Garland out, you still have a young guard in Proctor. I want to see he was a senior coming out, so he's like 22. He's played well when given the chance.
Junior, he played 3 years.
Okay, 21, 22 years old, still a young guy. Decent size for the guard position as well. Obviously he hasn't played a ton this year, but when given the opportunity, he's done a pretty good job. And I just thought about this. If they throw if the Cavs are throwing in that second round pick, you know how in the MLB, you can be like, hey, if you guys take on this part of the contract, then we'll accept the deal. You think the Cavs were like, if you guys pay that trade bonus or pay like whatever to make sure that we don't jump into that third apron or whatever it is, we'll toss in a second round pick to avoid any more.
I don't know if that's possible in the NBA.
I don't know if that's possible either.
Yeah, I don't think that was like an option. I mean, because he was capped anyway at what the trade kicker could go.
No, you
to.
know more about this than us, so go ahead.
Yeah, he's not getting the full kicker anyway. But I mean, I think he's probably going to end up signing a 2-year, maybe $45 million a year contract.
It's going to end up being
million,
like 2 years,
like
$90 to $100 million. I think.
Yeah, I agree, but.
Does this hurt their chances of bringing Braun back this summer though? Because that's something.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Well, a couple things. I think one, I was reading that they had said Donovan Mitchell was open to this trade. That it was known. So I don't think they would make this move without consulting him. To your point,
that's extremely important.
100%. So, and then I mean, if something were to happen, disaster were to happen, like. You hope that you have him pass this year, but if he leaves after this year, I mean, you just freed up a bunch of salary cap space to go out and sign, some free agents this summer. And really, like, they had to commit to 2 out of the 3 between Mobley, Mitchell, and Garland, and I think pretty clearly Garland's the odd man out. And
absolutely.
Unfortunately, I mean, he was due for he was eligible for an extension this summer. But I mean, you already got Mitchell's making 25% of the cap. Mobley's making 30% of the cap. You can't go give Garland are you going to give him $60 million a year? Like it's not going to happen. So, I think like doing this, they obviously committed to those 2 right there.
I'd make the argument Darius Garland's last contract extension was a mistake. I mean, he was overpaid.
Oh yeah.
Like I hate to say it. And I hate talking about one of our own like that. I just rambled on about what a great man he was, and he was. But ultimately, if we look back on this and be realist about it, that extension was a giant mistake.
That's how all these contracts end up being, I feel like. Whenever there's like I shouldn't say not all of them, but a lot of them end up being, you have that breakout season, you're playing really well, you're eligible for the max, and then you just get the max, like no matter what. And that's basically what the Cavs did. I mean, they did that with Mobley too.
That's looking like another mistake.
You see a lot of these teams doing that.
I hate to say it. But.
He's still in his 5th year. I mean, he's still 24. He's still probably top 3, at least no more than top 5 defender in the NBA.
Should have been Mobley for Giannis is what we should have gotten.
Well, let me. And that does lead me to believe. Yeah. Do you guys think they're done? Like, is this it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think they're definitely at least exploring it. I don't know if they're gonna be pulling the trigger on much. I mean, I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that Lonzo Ball is getting shipped out of here somewhere. You're attaching a 2nd rounder to him, and I mean, I know the Hornets are interested in pairing him with his brother. So like, I think that seems to be the most logical. I know the Wizards were talking about maybe getting him too.
The Wizards always just take on people's shitty contracts. Yeah, dude. They're like great for that. That's where Atlanta found a dump Trae Young in the Washington dumping ground.
Right,
is what it's turned into the last 10 years.
Whoever you're going to be trading Lonzo Ball to outside of like I guess Charlotte with his brother is just going to be some scrub team who's got a bunch of salary cap space, and they're going to be fine with taking a 2nd round pick just to absorb him for you. So like he's getting dumped somewhere.
I agree with you, and then the Cavs could take on some like draft rights of some European guy who never has any plans of leaving the Euro League or something.
Exactly. And like I think we're not. I assume that we're not getting Giannis, but if you trade Lonzo and get very little back, you're getting yourself closer to the point of being able to aggregate salaries. Because right now, as we stand, Cavs can't aggregate salaries to make a trade, but if they get that much closer to being under the 2nd apron, and then that actually makes it realistic where they're able to make a trade and then finish it under the 2nd apron, and you are allowed to do that. You can aggregate contracts if you're starting in the 2nd apron if you finish the trade under the 2nd apron. So they would be able to then trade multiple players for a Giannis or something like that. So that brings flexibility too, which I don't know, obviously that the Giannis is going to happen, but
I agree with you that the Lonzo, him getting out of here is 100% true, especially because you got Dennis Schroeder now. And then the other thing I think the Cavs need to do, and I don't know if they'll have the ability to do it, you might be able to enlighten me here. Can they make Naquan Tomlin a full-time and not a 2-way contract? Because that's probably something they need to consider doing, too, the way that guy's played this year.
Yeah, for sure. I think they've been keeping open, like, an extra roster spot just to see, like, what's going on here. But I think at some point they're going to have to convert him to a standard contract just because, like, I mean, obviously he's he's a regular in the rotation now at this point. Like which is that was kind of my call at the beginning of the year.
You were right about that. You told me that we went to the season ticket holder event.
Yeah,
you were talking about
him. And I said it on this show too for the kickoff. So I'll take credit for that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was episode 52.
But, yeah. It was
14 episodes.
The 1 year episode. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's right. It was the 1 year episode.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you got to convert it to a standard contract. But I think maybe not. They're waiting to probably do that and see what happens at the trade deadline. Just keep a spot open. I mean, I assume that they're going to convert it to a standard contract, but if something were to happen where they're able to swing a trade for a couple more rotation guys and kind of bumps him out a little bit, it might happen. So I think they're just trying to keep their options open at this point, but I would assume that he's going to get converted to a standard contract.
And then my other thing is, the only other thing I could see them doing would be trying to see if there's some kind of market for Allen. Because it's just... It doesn't seem to be, like we said, he has his big games, but there's far too many duds in between the beauties.
Yeah, for sure. I think between like him and Mobley, you'd like a little bit more rebounding, and like you could see. I mean, Allen comes out and has a 17 rebound game. Like, I mean, he can get those games like that, but then he'll have other games where he'll come out and get 3 rebounds, and you're like, what are you doing out there? but it's like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting because I mean, he looks bigger than he is with his big fro, but he's a 6'9" center who can't shoot the ball. So like, I guess I shouldn't be entirely surprised either that he's not able to kind of out physical some of these other bigs like Mitchell Robinson or somebody like that.
Sure.
I mean, he's got a height disadvantage there, so. Yeah, we'll see. I would like to add another big if possible because I mean Larry Nance, in my opinion, has been kind of a failure.
Yeah, he's been a failure this year.
Yeah,
no question.
Yeah, I mean,
I was excited about that one too.
So was I. We talked about that one
about
extensively on the preview
yeah.
show, on the Cavs preview show, but he's just struggled to stay healthy, and when he has, he just hasn't gotten much of a rhythm. So. Yeah. We'll see. Can't wait for the Cavs game tomorrow night when we face Darius Garland. No, I don't know if everything will be fine.
They won't be in uniform by that point.
Yeah.
We'll see Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder for the first time, though, so that'll be exciting.
You think there's a shot that Harden plays at all?
Probably not. Paperwork and the physicals aren't going to be done yet.
Yeah, that's true.
It is kind of funny because we are right there, obviously. So
that probably helped
that's how
facilitate everything because we pointed out before the show the Cavs have been practicing at USC the last couple days at the USC Galen Center.
Harden will be on the sideline tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have to go far. He just got to go from one side of the scorer's table to the other.
Unless he fears getting booed in the building, maybe he won't show up.
Yeah, at the Steve Ballmer Steve Ballmer Dome.
The dome.
So
the Intuit Dome.
That's right. So I think. It'll be interesting to see. I'm glad we got to break that story.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about it too.
I was hoping that's how it was going to work out.
Yeah, I think we all kind of were.
Yeah,
we kind of had that feeling before we began recording tonight.
That's how you outlined the structure of the show tonight. So props to you.
Yeah, well, I tried. So
could you imagine being in the middle of talking about the Todd Monken press conference and then having to shift over talk about this trade?
Well, I figured we hit Monken early.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we didn't get to the baseball. That's okay. We have more time to bitch about them down the road.
Not like they did much anyway.
No,
not too much to talk about.
There's nothing really to talk about.
No, the only thing you talk about is their inactivity.
Exactly.
Only thing I'd say, like, otherwise when it comes to the deadline, like that Jaren Jackson trade really took me off guard today. The Jazz sending 3 firsts and a few players as well to Memphis for Jaren Jackson Jr.
Our old buddy George Niang a part of that.
Yep, and that's a team in the Jazz who have been kind of building their draft capital over the last few years, ever really since the Mitchell and Gobert offseason where they offloaded both of them. They've really just been collecting draft picks, and obviously they felt like there was somebody worth going after, so interesting trade for them. Obviously this signals a huge fire sale, you would imagine, for the Memphis Grizzlies. And like we were talking about earlier, John Morant probably going to be a part of that. Maybe not, honestly, depending on
if there's a market for him.
Depending on the market, because he's obviously making a ton of money as well. That was really the only big blockbuster one that's gone down so far as we record, right?
Yeah, then we got Vucevic for Anthony Simons.
Yeah,
which isn't like
that's up there. On the
it's not
board,
really
too.
moving the scale for either.
Well,
of
I
them,
think that helps Boston though, because they need a big, and everybody, including all three of us, thought Boston was going to be irrelevant, and here they are,
above us in the standings without their best player.
Yeah, and then Toronto, we were talking about them before the show. They've been way better than anybody would anticipate. And then we had that 3-team deal between the Bulls, Pistons, and T-Wolves, which I never really – I know Shams broke it, but there wasn't really much follow-up of who went where. All I know is Jaden Ivey was on the move.
Yeah, Mike Conley went to the Bulls, too.
Yeah, the Timberwolves – they didn't get much back. They were just doing that to clear salary cap space, and they got a pick swap, I think, out of that. So they're going aggressively after
Where did the
Giannis.
Pistons get out of that?
I think they got like a first-round pick or something. Like I think it was
Did
kind
they
of one
get-
of those where Ivy wasn't getting a bunch of playing time.
Where'd Kevin Herter end up? I know he was involved.
He ended up with the Pistons.
Okay, that's good for them. They add some shooting. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that might be an interesting trade. I think it's honestly kind of a lot of nothing. More so, I think it was honestly more so geared toward the Timberwolves there, pursuit of Giannis, trying to free up some space because like Kevin and I were talking about it a little bit earlier before the show. They had the option to receive Kobe White out of that trade, and they declined it because they want the salary cap space to go after Giannis. So I don't know if it's possible if they leave this trade open and don't like entirely finalize it yet and see if that trade's able to go down, and maybe then they're able to add him.
Yeah, that's possible.
well, I also heard Houston's heavily involved in the Kobe White market.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I read that today from I believe it was Jake Fisher.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think he's done in Chicago. They were reporting that they were trying to trade him out of there. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see
a
how that
lot
shakes
more
out.
to come down.
I'm sure. Yeah, before this releases.
But
too.
most importantly, we know that James Harden in his giant ass beard will be at the Rocket Arena and at Christie's and Larry Flint's Hustler Club.
Name dropped him. That's crazy.
A little free advertising.
Yeah,
And
I did.
Yes.
They
I
should
didn't
send
see any CSR posters.
No, but
well, not that I've ever been. I'm just saying.
They
I didn't see any
should.
CSR posters.
now that one of the they should get on board of sponsoring the CSR now that one of the Cavs players will be some of their biggest business. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll break it all more down next week.
Yeah,
Thanks for being here.
And the Olympics start this week.
They do.
Yeah.
They start on Friday.
Get ready for that.
Yeah. A lot of sports going on right now.
Sports
My
is
Lord.
very busy.
Yeah. What's it? Lindsey Vonn, right?
It's gonna ski
She
with the
tore
torn
ACL.
ACL.
Yeah.
It's still gonna ski.
She's just gonna have a knee brace on. That's pretty crazy right there.
That's
Talk about
nuts.
dedication.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, though. I mean, she'd have to wait another 4 years to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's also won so
No,
much.
I understand. I
mean-
understand. I'm just saying.
I give Lindsey Vonn a give her some
sure.
credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, give Lindsey.
Good job, Lindsay.
She's
So,
a heck of an athlete for sure.
Obviously, go Team USA. And then also for baseball geeks like me, we have the World Baseball Classic coming up,
Yeah.
which Team USA is loaded in that too. So much going on in the sports world. We'll try to keep you all updated. I won't be here next week. I'm heading south. So
I'll be here with a guest that is to be determined.
Yeah, so Kevin
maybe
will
I'll be back.
Yeah,
We'll
maybe
see,
Pat.
depending
If we're
on the
recording
timing.
Tuesday, it's probably going to be Pass. If we record Wednesday,
If we record Wednesday, I'll be watching James Harden at Rocket Mortgage.
that's great.
All right, well, make sure to check this episode out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, and then you could follow us for clips and other things and polls and whatnot on our socials. We're available on TikTok. We're also on Instagram, and we're on Twitter, too. Derek, thanks for working hard on the other side. We'll talk to everybody next. Well, you'll talk to everybody next week.
Yeah.
See you all in 2 weeks. I'm heading to Florida. Have a good one, everybody.
Go USA.